When did feeling good become a full-time job? You wake up. You don't reach for purpose, you reach for your phone. Before you even feel hunger, you feel the need to scroll. Notifications, likes, stories, tiny sparks of artificial pleasure. Then comes the coffee, maybe something sweet. You sit and you consume. Content, opinions, outrage, 1,000 tiny jolts of stimulation before noon. It feels good, or at least it did. We live in an age engineered to make us feel good. Easier, faster, cheaper pleasure than ever before. And on the surface, it seems like we've won. We no longer chase survival, we chase comfort. But beneath that surface, something's quietly breaking. Why does a world full of comfort breed so much depression? Why do we have infinite ways to escape, yet still feel trapped? Why do we chase the next high, even when we know the crash will come? The truth is uncomfortable. Pleasure has become a product, a weapon, a drug, and we've become its willing addicts. What if the very thing you think is keeping you afloat is the thing quietly drowning you? We've been sold a lie that more comfort, more convenience, more pleasure will make us happier. But the more we chase it, the more hollow we feel. Because not all pleasure is joy. Not all stimulation is nourishment. Some pleasure comes with a hidden cost, a price you don't see until it's already been paid. So here's the question. If pleasure feels so good, why does it leave us feeling so empty? This is not just about habits, it's about who we're becoming, about how society is being reshaped, not by force but by seduction, not through pain but through pleasure. And if you're not careful, you might mistake the poison for medicine. Let's pull back the curtain. Thousands of years ago, pleasure had a purpose. It wasn't about indulgence, it was about survival. When our ancestors found food, their brains rewarded them with dopamine. When they found shelter, warmth, or connection, another hit. That pleasure was nature's way of saying, do that again. It keeps you alive. Pleasure was a compass. It pointed toward life. But today, that compass is spinning out of control. Our brains haven't evolved much since then, but our environment has, radically. What once was rare, sugar, sex, novelty, is now endlessly available. We're still wired for scarcity while living in overwhelming abundance. Imagine giving a caveman a smartphone. Every swipe, every click, every notification triggers a neurochemical celebration. Dopamine floods the system, not because you hunted something real, but because an algorithm told you mattered for 2 seconds. You didn't earn it, you didn't grow from it, but your brain doesn't know the difference. That's the problem. The brain's reward system, built to keep you alive, is now being hijacked. Corporations, media platforms, and marketers have become the new hunters, but they're not hunting food, they're hunting attention, emotion, identity. They know how your brain works better than you do. And they're not selling you a product, they're selling you pleasure. Fast, cheap, addictive. But here's the paradox. The more easily you get pleasure, the less it means. The more you indulge, the more you numb. Your baseline for satisfaction rises. And suddenly, what once brought joy now feels like nothing. This is called hedonic adaptation, a psychological treadmill where every high becomes the new normal. And so you chase harder, you scroll longer, you consume more, but you're not moving forward. You're running in place. We are no longer guided by pleasure, we are imprisoned by it. The very system that once kept us alive now keeps us distracted. And what happens when distraction becomes our daily diet? Why does everything that feels good end up making you feel worse? If you've ever wondered that, keep watching. We're about to go deeper. We stop asking questions, we stop seeking meaning, and worst of all, we stop noticing the chains, because they feel like comfort. The compass has been stolen, and someone else is now choosing what you desire. But the scariest part? You ask them to. You don't scroll because you're curious. You scroll because you're wired to, not by nature, but by design. Open your favorite app. Watch what happens. The colors, the movement, the sounds. It's not random, it's engineered. Each element calibrated to light up your brain's reward center. Not to inform you, not to elevate you, but to hook you. This is the age of dopamine on demand, and you are the product. Every platform, every ad, every notification is a calculated move in a psychological war you didn't even know you were fighting, a war for your attention, a war for your inner world. TikTok gives you 15 seconds of novelty. Instagram serves curated beauty. YouTube predicts what you want before you know it. Food delivery apps bring sugar and salt straight to your door. Porn gives you illusion without intimacy. And every purchase promises transformation, but only delivers the urge to buy again. This isn't pleasure, it's programming. Modern psychology has a name for what happens next: hedonic adaptation. The more pleasure you get, the less you feel. What once thrilled you now bores you. The dopamine hits must come faster, louder, bigger, until the silence between them feels unbearable. Then comes dopamine desensitization. Your brain stops responding the way it used to. Like a drug addict chasing the original high, you need more to feel anything. But here's the twist. You think you're making choices, you think you're in control, but your behavior has already been mapped, predicted, monetized. This isn't addiction by accident, it's addiction by design. Every swipe is recorded, every pause is analyzed. Algorithms don't serve you, they shape you. They mold your desire, twist your perception, and slowly, subtly, they tell you what to value. Welcome to the pleasure-pain balance, a concept discussed by Dr. Anna Lemke. Every time you spike pleasure, your brain pushes back with pain. It wants balance. That's why the binge always ends in a crash. That's why you feel hollow after hours online. That's why too much of what feels good becomes the very thing that drains you. And yet, we return, over and over. Not because we want to, but because we've forgotten how not to. This isn't just about brain chemistry. It's about freedom, about sovereignty over your own mind. Because when pleasure is cheap, meaning becomes expensive. And when everyone is chasing the next hit, no one's asking who's behind the curtain. You are not just addicted, you are being addicted, not for your benefit, but for theirs. Because in the modern world, the surest way to control someone is to give them everything they want all the time until they no longer remember what they need. You have everything previous generations dreamed of: comfort, convenience, safety, and yet deep down, something feels off. You wake up tired, you go through the motions, you laugh at content that doesn't make you smile, you keep scrolling, but nothing sticks, nothing moves you. You're not broken, you're just empty. But why? The answer lies in the quiet trap we've built around ourselves. A trap of stimulation, of noise, of surface-level satisfaction. The modern world teaches us that if we feel bad, we should reach for pleasure. A snack, a show, a scroll. But the more we do it, the less we feel. Like a candle burning too fast, our emotional wick shortens, until even joy becomes exhausting. This is the loop. We chase pleasure to avoid discomfort, but that avoidance creates even deeper discomfort. And so, we chase again. Over time, the highs become dull, and the lows stretch longer. You start asking questions you can't answer. Why am I unhappy when everything seems fine? Why do I feel lonely when I'm always connected? It's not a mystery. It's biology, psychology, and a bit of philosophy. Carl Jung warned that when we suppress discomfort, we suppress the very parts of ourselves that bring wholeness. What we avoid doesn't disappear, it festers. He called it the shadow, the unacknowledged parts of our psyche. And in a world of constant distraction, the shadow grows quietly, invisibly. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, saw it too. He wrote that a human being is not destroyed by suffering, but by suffering without meaning. In the absence of purpose, even pleasure becomes unbearable. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Pleasure is not the same as fulfillment. Fulfillment is earned. It requires sacrifice. It demands presence. It's born from struggle, not avoidance. But in today's culture, we're taught that pain is failure, that discomfort is a flaw to be corrected. So we medicate our boredom, we mask our sadness, we soften every edge. But what if meaning lives in those very edges? What if real peace doesn't come from eliminating pain, but from facing it? You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because everything you're doing feels meaningless, shallow, repetitive. And beneath all that noise is a silent scream. Let me feel something real. The modern world didn't kill your spirit with suffering. It numbed it with comfort. And now, like a soul underwater, you're gasping, not for air, but for depth. This isn't depression. This is starvation, emotional, existential, spiritual. You were not meant to float through life. You were meant to wrestle with it. And if you're feeling empty, maybe it's not because something's wrong with you. Maybe it's because something's missing. And that missing piece, it's not more pleasure, it's more purpose. In history, control looked like shackles, like whips, like visible oppression. You knew who held the power because they didn't try to hide it. But today, control has evolved. It no longer needs to scream. It only needs to whisper, here's a screen, here's a treat, here's a distraction. Because a population entertained is a population asleep. Aldous Huxley warned us. In Brave New World, people weren't forced into submission. They were seduced, drenched in comfort, flooded with stimulation, numbed by pleasure. They didn't rebel because they had no reason to. Why fight when everything feels fine? That's the genius of modern control. It doesn't punish you, it pampers you. It doesn't silence you. It drowns your voice in noise. You're not locked in a cage. You're locked in a feedback loop of indulgence. And you don't even see the bars. This is soft slavery, not of the body, but of the will. Surveillance capitalism doesn't just track your actions. It predicts your cravings. It knows when you're lonely, when you're insecure, when you're bored, and it offers you just enough comfort to keep you quiet, just enough validation to keep you hooked, just enough stimulation to keep you from asking deeper questions. You are not oppressed by force. You are distracted by design. Bread in circuses, the Romans called it. Keep the people fed, keep them entertained, and they'll never question why the empire's crumbling. Fast forward to now. What's changed? Nothing. Except now the bread is digital. The circus lives in your pocket. And here's the darkest part. We asked for it. We wanted faster food, simpler answers, endless content, and we got it. But in exchange, we lost something we didn't realize we were giving up. Our depth, our resistance, our freedom. Because when you choose comfort over challenge, you don't just become soft, you become compliant. And a compliant mind doesn't revolt, it scrolls. The system doesn't need to silence you. It just needs to exhaust you with pleasure. Because the greatest prison isn't the one you fight to escape. It's the one you never realize you're in. You think you're free because you can choose between Netflix or YouTube, Coke or Pepsi, Android or iPhone. But none of these are real choices, they're illusions. Options within the same invisible cage. Real freedom is uncomfortable. It requires effort, stillness, awareness. But awareness hurts. It asks questions that burn. So we run back to the screen, back to the sugar, back to the simulated life. The truth is, power today doesn't conquer you. It seduces you. And in doing so, it makes sure you'll never question what you've become. So ask yourself, what if the system doesn't want you free? What if it just wants you comfortable enough to stop caring? You can't escape this trap by cutting pleasure out of your life. You escape by redefining it, not as something handed to you, but something earned. Pleasure was never the enemy. Passive pleasure was, because anything you receive without effort slowly erodes you. But there's another kind, a kind that demands something from you, the kind that follows pain, discipline, discomfort, the kind that leaves you proud, not just pleased. This is where the path begins. Cold showers, not to be trendy, but to remember that you can choose discomfort and survive. Fasting, not to lose weight, but to remind yourself that you're not a slave to every urge. Journaling, not for productivity, but to meet the voice inside you that's been buried beneath the noise. Mindfulness, silence, long walks with no music. Hours alone with nothing but your thoughts. All of it sounds small, but it's revolutionary because every act of intentional pain is a rejection of the system, a signal to your nervous system that you are taking your power back. Discipline is not punishment, it's rebellion. It's a declaration: I will not be owned by comfort. I will not be trained by dopamine. You don't need to live without pleasure, but you must stop letting it control you. Real pleasure is purposeful. It follows growth. It follows creation. It follows struggle. So ask yourself, do you want comfort or do you want freedom? Because the road to one is paved with surrender, and the road to the other begins with saying no to what feels good now, so something greater can come later. You were not built to consume. You were built to create, to struggle, to feel deeply, to fall and rise again. No screen will fulfill you. No scroll will save you. No shallow pleasure will satisfy the deep hunger inside you. Because what your soul craves isn't more comfort. It's confrontation. It's meaning. It's growth. You were not born to be pacified. You were born to awaken. And sometimes awakening hurts, but in that hurt is life. So step off the loop, face the silence, and remember, you were never meant to be entertained. You were meant to be alive.